A lot of people don't seem to realize that it's actually quite easy to play Minecraft with friends over the internet without having to pay for a server. And in fact, the same is true of any game that allows you to connect to someone via an IP address. You might be familiar with Minecraft's Open to LAN option, and while the name suggests that your friends have to be on the same network as you, that's not actually true. When you press Open to LAN, what you're really doing is you're spinning up a Minecraft server which anyone can connect to as long as they have your IP address. The only problem is that your router blocks connections from the outside world. In this video, I'm going to be explaining why this problem exists and how we can fix it. If you type into Google, "What is my IP address?" the address you get back is not actually linked to your device, but rather your router. This is known as your external IP address because this is the only way that people from outside of your network can reach you. What that means is when someone on the internet tries to connect to your Minecraft server using your external IP address, they're actually connecting to your router. And at this point, your router doesn't know what to do because there could be any number of devices within your network that are wanting to receive that connection. Since the router doesn't know where to send the traffic, it will just drop it, and your friend's connection will time out. Fortunately, there is a simple solution. We can tell the router that if any traffic arrives on a particular port, it should send it to our device. For example, if your friend tries to connect to your Minecraft server using the default port number of 25565, you can tell your router to forward that traffic to your device so that it reaches your Minecraft server. This is what's known as port forwarding. And don't worry, it's not as scary as it sounds. So, to set up port forwarding, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to go to your start menu, you're going to type CMD and open up command prompt. And we're going to type ipconfig. This is going to print a bunch of information, but what we're interested in is where it lists your IP addresses. These will probably be listed under wireless LAN adapter if you're connected via Wi-Fi, or Ethernet adapter if you're connected with an Ethernet cable. Now, there are a couple of IP addresses here that are interesting to us. Firstly, the IPv4 address. This is your internal IP address. In other words, this is the IP address that other computers within your network can use to identify you. This is allocated to you by your router and is completely invisible to the outside world. Now, make a note of this because it will become important later, but the one that's relevant right now is the default gateway. And that's because this is typically how you access your router's configuration. And that is where we need to set up port forwarding. So let's open a web browser. Let's type in that IP address from the default gateway. And that should take you to your router's configuration page. Every router is different, so your configuration page might not look exactly like this, but there should be a section somewhere for port forwarding. For me, it's under security, and at this point it prompts me for an admin username and password. This is typically found on your router. And then for me, I have to go to firewall rules, which is basically just another way of saying port forwarding. Now, from this page, you can configure where the router is going to send traffic, based on the port number that traffic comes in on. You can see that I already have a rule here for Minecraft to send it to 192.168.0.5, which is the IP address of this computer that I'm on right now, and is also the IP address that we saw in command prompt. Now, my router is a little fiddly. It's not as straightforward as just defining a rule in here. We first have to go into services and define Minecraft as a service. Once you've defined your service, you can go back to firewall rules, and under inbound services, this is what the rule would look like. So again, quite simple. I've selected the service that we just created. I've said allow because we want to allow that traffic, and I've told my router to send it to this device. Everything else I've just left as the defaults. Now, one more thing to note while we're here is that if you shut down your device and restart it, you might get allocated a different IP address, in which case this rule would no longer work for you. If you don't want to have to keep changing your rules every time you restart your device, there is a solution. And that is that we can tell our router to always assign the same IP address to our device. So for me, I have to go to Advanced, LAN IP Setup, And here you can add an address reservation. So for my laptop, I've reserved the IP address 192.168.0.5, and that means I will always get that IP address allocated to me by my router. Once again, your router's configuration might not look exactly like this, but once you understand the principles involved, hopefully it shouldn't be too difficult to figure it out. Just a few final notes to close the video. Firstly, only the person hosting the world needs to configure port forwarding. Players who are joining the world don't have to do anything. Secondly, if you still have connection timeouts, it's possible that there's a firewall getting in the way. So one way to just quickly rule that out is to disable your firewall temporarily. And the same applies if you have any kind of antivirus software on your PC. And finally, if you want to run a server in the background without having to actually be in Minecraft, that is also possible through a standalone server executable that Mojang provide, but that is a topic for another video. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.